Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here for another Scrap Your Scraps. Last week we kind of got off topic. My topic was how to use up your paper towels that you use to clean up your area and not throw them away because they're full of really valuable ink. And then I got on to a process of putting together a junk journal page, and I totally got off on a tangent. And so today I'm going to show you actually what I am doing with that double page spread. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I need to just review if you did not see last week's. These two pages are covered with paper towel that have been have soaked up my messes, and I encourage you to go back one video to see how that whole process happened and how we got the paper towel. We pulled it apart and we put it on 2 pages in one of my junk journals. So now we're going to move from that into the next step, which is to put some things together. So while I was doing the last video, kind of got off on a tangent as to the things I could put in my junk journal, and I pulled out a couple of things, and there is some work that I need to do. So I've got some flowers here. I am using flattened out coffee containers as elements. I am using quite a bit of chipboard. I don't think I'll be using that piece, so I'll put that over there. And a photo that I really like. So I want to put a layer of granite paste on my chipboard, but first I need to base it in something. So I want to paint it black. I was going to use black modeling paste, but I think I will use just black ink, or black paint. So let me grab my black paint. Sorry, that took a little while. Okay, so I'm just going to paint the entire thing black and just put some of this on my desk. Get myself a medium brush. Okay. And I'm just going to go in and tap this down. I should probably do it on a piece of paper now that I think of it. Oh well. Too late now. And I just tap this down. Acrylic pulls up with a scraper, so it should be okay. It's going to need 2 layers. It's difficult to paint these guys because you don't want to actually shove paint into the corners and the crevices. You want it sitting on the surface, so you do kind of have to pat it and go over it a couple of times. All right, now just put that aside for a moment. Oh, you do have to paint. We're going to dry it first, but let me pull up that paint. I'm not as concerned about how black the sides are because they are going to get covered in the granite paste. I'm more concerned about the gate being nice and black. All right, so let's put that aside for a minute. I'm going to wipe this up. And I'm going to get a scrunched up paper towel. If you followed me last week, you know what I'm doing with this. We're creating some paper towels that we can reuse in our junk journals by slopping up all the messes that we make. And that's good enough for now. So I got some gray on there, I got some black on there. And that will look fine. This is done. So, all right, so let's just finish this one off. I'm going to dry it a bit. And this is the long drawn out process. So now we're going to go in and we're going to make sure the sides are covered so that they don't show up. And you know, you don't have to do this, but I'm telling you, it does make a difference. Blend nicely into your background. And the other thing you have to be careful of is that you can't put too much water on this stuff. So you don't want to use a wet paint like a watercolor. You want to use a drier paint like an acrylic. And you're not using your best paintbrush here either, because you are smooshing it in and around things. And with the sides that are getting the gravel, like I said, I'm not as worried about coverage, but I do want to kind of get something in there so that you don't see the brown. Okay, so that was sticking. I'm going to dry this a tiny bit. Now you'll notice, you may notice, that when you dry it, it buckles. It should flatten out. Oops, just be careful about putting too much pressure on those tips. And I'm just going to do a little bit along the back of this because it's not very strong, and it just might help it stay stronger. Okay, so now just going to let that dry a minute, cover that up, and now we're going to do our plants. Okay. All right, that goes in the water, and this gets cleaned up. Okay, now we're just going to dry these guys off. The nice thing about this chipboard is that when it's heated, it gives off the smell of burning wood. So it smells like you're at a camp. Okay, so we have our leaves up here. And now we have this guy done, that guy done. Okay, I really do need to clean up because I don't want on my journal. Oh, I'm going to have to use some, yeah, I'm going to have to use some hand sanitizer to get that off, which is fine. So let's hand sanitizer is miracle stuff. Gets everything out. Sometimes you have to rub a little bit, and it depends if your mat has any cuts in it. But you can see how quickly it's taking most of this out. And that's all I'm really concerned about. I just don't want anything left that can possibly leave a stain. So if I've got everything rubbed out as much as the hand sanitizer will allow, then I know it won't get on my album or my junk journal. So now I want to apply granite paste. Hope it's still moist. And I'm going to do this with a spatula. It's a little dry. So I'm going to put some out here. Just a tiny bit on the dry side. So I'm going to add just a tad of collage medium just to moisten it up a little bit. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit at a time. There we go. Make sure you put your lids on everything. And then that'll moisten it up and keep it stuck on my work, which is a little better. Okay, granite paste is really cool stuff because it has mica in it and it has regular granite in it, and you're literally just going to plaster it down on top. Oh, you know what? I should have taped that. So let me just do that now. I think I'll use sticky notes to protect it. I might have to cover that one again. So I'm just covering up that first line because I don't want to get this stuff stuck on it. And I'm literally just plastering it on. And there's going to be holes I have to poke out because I've got some stuck inside the holes, which is fine. I can poke that out. And I lift it up. And you can poke the rest out after. Okay. And we're just going to take little bits and pat that on. So it is a process. It does take a little bit of time. Okay, so that's one side done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a fine little brush and just brush out the insides. And you want it to keep as flat as possible. But also show the glitter and the stone effect. There we go. And there you have your granite gate. Now this is a mess, so you want to clean that up. And the easiest way to do that is just to get your garbage can to the side, pull everything over, grab your scraper, and just scrape it right into the garbage. Because you want to get all the crusty stuff off, because you're going to do the other side. And scrape off your palette knife as well. All right, there you go. And we're ready to do the second round. Okay. Garbage can goes to the side. All right, I just want to dry this. There's a surprising amount of moisture in that paste, even though it was dry. Okay, so now we're going to flip around and do this side. That's quite hot. And we're going to seal this. Oh, look. Yeah, I can address that after. Okay, so now we need another batch. Okay. And now that's done. And we have our fence ready. We just have to do one more coat of black. Okay. And let's get our garbage here. Now, I'm just going to touch up the black with my little brush. It's hard to cover up those little shiny things. Okay, so that's it. There we go. Alrighty, now let's just clean up everything. Well, actually, first I'm going to dry this. Move everything back into the screen. Okay. That will flatten on its own. Now we have to add some color to the flowers, and I want to do this with mica sprays. So I have some very bright mica sprays, but I think that they are quite translucent. So I'm going to have to see how they play out. I may have to go back to the distress ones. And let's just try this one right here. Oh no, that may work. Let me just Nope, I think I'm going to paint it rather than spray it. So get my little brush here. Oh, make sure I don't get that wet. Okay. So I don't need this to be super duper obvious. I want it just to be a hint. And I'm going to have to hit it with heat between each layer. So basically what I'm doing is just putting the shimmer down on the flower, because there's no base to it, it's just clear. But I'm doing it this way because I want it just to be subtle. Okay, so you can just see the shimmer. So it still appears like there's a black background, but you just have a bit of shimmer that pops up. I'm going to decide to like this. I'm just going to get that shimmer off of there. And you can put more or less layers depending on what the end result you want to find. Okay, so now I notice that in my picture I have a bit of this orangey reddy color. So I think I am going to have to go, because this is definitely a pink. I think I'm going to have to go back to this peppermint business. There we go. To see if I can get red out of that. Oh yeah. Yeah, but this I don't think is going to stay on so well. I might have to do several coats of this one. Let me just dry that. I think I have a solution for this. I'm going to put some collage medium with the color in it, and that'll hold it. Because this is very, very difficult to see. That was peppermint. Whoops. Whoa. Always use a thing to prevent yourself from getting splashed. Okay, just going to grab a little bit of collage medium. I like collage medium. It comes in handy for a bunch of things. Okay, I can't put that back in because I just got some ink on it. So we'll wipe it off on a paper towel. Okay, so I just want a little tiny bit of collage medium to help me to make it more paint-like. There we go. Oh yeah, that's much better. Yeah, that's sticking much better. Now red is a hard color to see on top of black anyway, but you can see the red hue a little bit better. And it's really the mica that I really want to see. So I'm just coloring everything that I think belongs to that in this color. And now I'm going to dry it. So you can see the mica. It's not as obvious as that one because I think we've diminished it a little bit with the collage. But you know what? I don't mind it. So just put that in the water for a minute, and let's scooch up the paper. Let's suck up all that red color. This paper is coming into itself. Bits of red. I'm just going to wipe down that red because I think it might be a little bit intense for my next color. There we go. All right, now, so when I look on my page, let's open to that page. So here's the page we were working with. I had the flowers on this side, and I actually think I'm going to change that now. It's too pale. maybe I'll go with the darker with some collage medium. And then I had this, actually first I had this around up there, or me in the middle, and then I had this, and then I'm going to pop the photograph on top of there. So maybe I would drop everything down just a little more, so I have some more flowers popping out of the top. So this was sort of like what was going on this page. And then I have Remember Today as my sentiment for there. So that was my simple plan for this side. Or I could just have Remember Today down here. Not sure where Remember Today is going to go. So that's what the plan was for here. But I don't need an entire circle. I just need a partial circle. So I'm going to cut this circle in half because better to save some for another project. And then this was going to go like that. And this helps me to actually anchor everything down a little better. And I probably don't even need the stems of this unless I need it to hold up my picture. So we'll figure that part out after, but I have to finish my picture, or my flowers now. So in that picture, so between this picture and these elements that I may incorporate on the other side, I need to have another color. All right, so I can see turquoisey blues in here, but first I want to darken that. And I think I'm just going to do it with a little bit of purple. Whoa, it's a very long hose. Okay, so I think that's a nice darker purple. You can see it a little bit better. It won't fade in as much in that corner. Because the other ink is dried on there, it already has a base to adhere to. So that's a good thing. There we go. That's a little more obvious. Has to dry, of course. Paper's getting a lot added to it. Okay, now the question is the blue. I think I want to go with something that's more blue than more green. So, like if you look at the colors, I think this is the better one. There we go. Take this out of the way so I don't get that wet. And where did my little paper go that I was protecting things with? Here it is. So I'm just going to spray a little bit on the mat. There we go. And get my little brush out again. And I think I want him to be blue. Okay, so I've decided something. I'm going to coat this first with a little bit of collage medium, just so it sticks a little bit better. Take my finger. There we go. So I'm going to do the painting I'm just going to overpaint it with a little bit of collage medium. Oops, don't want it there. And what I will do is just make it sticky so the other stuff will stay a little bit better. Make sure I don't have it where I don't want it. There we go. And then, oh yeah, there we go. The Mica loves that collage medium. There we go. Look at how nice that stands out. Okay, so now we have a process. A little bit of collage medium goes a long way. Perfect. Suck up that. And what do I want to do there? Maybe pink? Sure. Or orange. Let's do some orange. Peppermint stick. Jack-o'-lantern. That looks like real orange. I'm just going to pull this out. I'm not going to spray. And I'm going to take some of this that isn't blue. And I'm only going to do the fluffy parts of this, because the rest is going to be some kind of a greenish color. Okay. I'll bring that closer to you so you can see the glitter happening there. Alrighty, now our flowers are colored. I want to put a green, but I don't want it to be, I want it to be very pale. So I'm going to put all the shimmers away. So I do not want shimmer. I just want it to be plain. And I only want it to barely show. Okay, there we go. And I want to use a wider brush to apply it. Or do I? No, I use the same brush. Just take a little longer, but it's all good. And I'm trying to decide if I want to coat it. I don't think I do. I just want it to wash on, just like this. So there's only the bare hint of a green there. So the majority of this looks black. Okay, so you probably cannot see it, but I can see a bare hint. So those guys are ready to roll now. I'm going to finish that one side. Scooch up all of the ink that's left here. I think we need to clean up this area much better. Alrighty, get all my inks out of the way. They will have to be put back at some point. These are my materials. And these guys are probably good, but let's put them over there for now. And now we're going to get some what do you call it? Hand sanitizer. And I'm going to scrunch up, and I'm going to go all over everything. Now, I have some scratchy bitty bits here. After I'm done, I'm going to go in carefully with my scraper and just pull them off. You don't want to dig you want to make sure your scraper is a lightweight scraper. It's not a sharp scraper. Like these Teflon scrapers are really good. And you can go in and just carefully take off what little dots are left over, as you can see. And just take that off the end of your scraper and put that right into the garbage. But for now, my biggest concern is color. So that's all good. Alrighty. So I want to put this guy, would have been somewhere down there. And this guy, oh yeah, that purple is much better. Can go underneath there. And then my photo will pop over top. Oops, see, I've already damaged it. All right. That looks good. Now, I almost want to ask myself, do I need all that top and bottom? I'm not even really sure. So that goes like that. All right, so I'm going to glue this guy down here. And what am I going to use? I'm going to use actual glue. And I should probably use something that's a bit thick. So I have this stuff called Wendy Vecchi Make Art, which is more of a card glue, but it will work well for this as long as I don't overglue it. And I'm just dotting the glue on. I don't want it to be too obvious. This is a faster dry glue, but it doesn't dry super fast, which is awesome. So it gives you a little bit of time to play. All right, so, ooh, big blob there. Put that on a paper towel. Okay, so I want my photo to be there. So that means this guy needs to be about here. Is that right? Will that cover up? A little bit more this way. Yeah, that works. Okay, so now I'm actually going to close this shut to put pressure on it. Just to give it a minute. It's not sitting, so I'm going to have to hold it. Gonna have to hold it. And then I have that something like that. Yeah, right in that corner. Again, I'm not going to worry so much about the flowers, but I am going to worry about this stem. I want the stem to be glued permanent. And I'll figure out the flowers afterwards. But there has to be enough room for the flowers. Make sure that that fits in the page. It's a little over. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold the base. All right, not liking this glue. It's taking way too long. I'm not used to things taking a long time to dry because I use the quick dry glue. This is taking a long time to dry, so let me see if I can do something about that with my little rubber hands, holding things down. Woo, hot. Okay, I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I go any further on that side. Now on this side, I want this to be sort of centered, and then these are my kind of unusual flowers. Actually, I can move that up. And then I have my unusual flowers in the corner here. With some black leaves coming out underneath. Something like that. And that's all I'm doing for that page. It's very Halloween-y almost. But that's all I'm doing for that page. So, liking how this is going. This has to get glued down, and I'm afraid we're going to have to use that same slow glue. Or do I want to try something totally different? No, I think I need the thickness of this. So we are going to do the thick. The other stuff, by the time I've done this, would have been dry. So you got to use the glue that allows you to have some time. All right. Now we are going to put that down right about there. And try maybe a little bit out from there, because I don't want it right in the fold. Glue seems to be holding on this side fine, so we just got to get it to the same point. I think we're almost there. Okay, so in the meantime, I can start to play with what's going on here. I think I like the idea of being able to have two of these guys come out here. On that one. And then one come out here. And the other one come out between those two. Okay. Just going to prop this up with something that is strong enough to be propped. Oh, how about my coffee? There. Okay. So now I'm going to stick some of this thick glue on there. And I'm going to put this guy down while the putting is good. That guy tucks underneath. So I'm going to put a fair amount of glue on him too. And I'm going to put, still have room? Yes. I'm going to put these guys down under there now. Stick that under there. There we go. Oh yeah, it just needs to dry. It's moving on the metal. And then this guy, whoa, slipped out of my hand. He's going to go in there. And now this goes under there. And I think that's it for that page. Now I can't really move anything because if I move anything, it's not going to dry properly. So okay, I think this side is dry enough for me to work on this side now. So I am going to get my photo. And there's a couple of things I want to do with this photo. I want to protect the surface because it is a water-based surface. And it's a tricky business. So I am actually going to put a piece of one-sided, what do you call it? Laminating material. So this is clear laminating material. And I'm going to cut a piece that is big enough for my photo. Actually, bigger than my photo is probably a better way to do it. So let me just get an estimate of what that looks like. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that over the surface of the photograph so that the photograph doesn't bleed. All right. So this is a little bit of a tricky business too. And what you've got to try to do is roll out the back, keeping the surface flat. So what I usually do to start is I'll fold down about an inch and trying not to get anything dirty, I will place that inch centering the photo, and then I will push the laminate against it nice and tight so there are no bubbles. And if you want to make extra sure, just get that old scraper out and make sure that it's nice and flat. So now the thing you got to do after that is continue the process by pulling out the white sheet from underneath. And it is tricky. You want to make sure you're only doing a little bit at a time. And you don't want to fold this top over because it doesn't give you any lift off the paper. And that's when you end up with bubbles. Now I'm coming to the end here, so it's becoming a little trickier to keep that bubble or that plastic up. But you just keep going back and forth, making sure not to rush too much. And before I go any further, I'm going to put some tape there because it's moving way too much for me. And I want to make sure I don't end up with any bubbles. So that's going to keep that from moving. And now I can roll it off very easily. There we go. All right. So I still have some spots I want to secure. So I'm just going back over and making sure that it's nicely pushed down. Alrighty. And I can take this tape off and reuse this tape for another project. Stick that on my thing, and now I'm just going to trim this out. And now that inkjet photo is protected with a piece of plastic. Whoops, I'm using my crummy scissors. Those are the ones I use for metal, so they're all raggedy. I don't want raggedy on this one. Now I could fold it under, but I don't really think that that works well because the underside is kind of slippery and it won't stick as securely as I would like. And I'm just trimming this off. And there we go. Now my photograph is protected and I don't have to worry about it getting falling apart or getting watered down because it is completely protected. Now I want to pop dot this over top, and I'm going to move this a little bit closer. Get my coffee out of the way, scissors out of the way. We have to keep those out because we're not sure if we need those or not yet. I am going to do serious pop dot damage here. I'm going to be covering this pretty much with, I wonder if I have 3D sheet. Hang on a second. Okay, so another way I could have done this is with a piece of foam sheet. And that's something I have to put on my list to purchase. Just the inexpensive kind you get at the dollar store. And you know, you can put a piece of buffering paper on the back of this if you're worried about it going rotting or it going bad. I don't, in my junk journal, I don't really worry about that stuff. And so literally I am just plowing on obsessive amounts of 3D tape. Oh, you know what I could have done? I could have put it on card instead. So you know what? I'm changing my mind. Rest well, so it's worth saving. Okay, card, board. I have all kinds of different board here. Small pieces that I keep for this kind of purpose. Oh my gosh, is that like, that's like a perfect match, but it's not thick enough. I want something thick. So I'm going to use this doubled up, or maybe just single, because that will fit. All right, that was quicker than usual. Usually it takes me a while to find something like that in amongst all the stuff I have. All right, so we're going to actually glue this down to the surface. We're going to use quick dry glue. And we are just going to go right up to the edge with some thin quick dry glue. All the edges. And this is thin, so it dries like super fast. You want to make sure you get it on your board as quickly as possible. Lining it up with the edges of the board. And pretty much when you put it down, it's down for good. So again, making sure you press all those air bubbles out because you don't want any air bubbles. And I feel one, but I didn't follow my own instructions. All right, there we go. Okay, and so now we can trim that off. And now we have it raised, and we can just glue it right onto the surface. So that, and we're going to need some gushy glue for that. Gushy glue. All right, so here we go. So this is going to lay, oh, I'm covering up one of my flowers altogether. Uh-oh. I can't do that. Nope, nope, nope. Got to bring that flower out. So I am snipping a few things here. I am snipping that flower. Sorry, I got stuff on my things. And I'm snipping here. Ugh. I didn't even notice. Okay, X-Acto knife time. I didn't even notice that this flower wasn't even showing up. go. Here we go. Oh, that's interesting. This is going to look highly dangerous, folks, but I'm doing it very carefully. There we go. So those stick there. I'm going to snip that. I'm going to snip that because they're both underneath anyway. I have to repair that with some quick glue. I just could not let that flower be left alone like that. This is all underneath the photograph, so I'm not so concerned about it. But I am concerned about missing. I think I want a pop dot supporting that. That's just a little too bloppy. So we'll use some of the stuff that I took off. And we'll put that under there. Sorry, I'm doing too many things at once here. Go on, there you go. And I've got to align all that back up. There we go. Okay, so now that's permanent. That could probably use a tad of glue, quick dry glue. And I put way too much on there. Just pull it out with my finger. There we go. And we'll figure out where this little guy has to go, and I'm just going to trim him up a little. And I'm going to use a black marker because I made a cut and now it is not black anymore. Okay, good old Sharpie. Come on, do your thing. Oh, and it's a dry Sharpie. But it did the job. Oh, and I have to do the other sides as well. So literally what I'm doing is I'm just tapping the Sharpie into the cut. So I don't see. Sharpies are handy. I'm just realizing it needs to be trimmed down a bit. Yes, I can be fussy. Fortunately, that does happen. Like right now. All these little hairs I don't like. There we go. All right, so this one's ready to stick down once I've got the paper or the photograph in the right place. So let's get that photograph happening. It's going to sit on top of everything. And literally, I need to make sure that it's covering all the damage. Yep. Perfect. So I am physically going to put some glue right on this, because that's the thing I should have cut off so we could have put the photograph down properly, but I didn't. Put some glue on here and maybe a little bit down there, and then just some glue just to secure it on either side. And I'll wipe off what I don't need, and I need some glue here. In there. And now this is going to sit right there. So all of this glue can come out. And again, it's going to be one of those things that I have to actually hold. So while this is drying, I'm going to figure out where I want this flower to come in to play. I'm going to take the overhead light off so I can have a little more control over the lighting and see where things play out. Something like that. Actually, I think that's better up there. And then the remember, I can put down there and it will pop right on the photo. I like that spot actually. Yes. So let's glue this puppy down. We don't need the thick glue for this. We just need the quick dry glue. There we go. Flip it over, tuck it under, place it down. And I can't dry this with a heat gun because of the plastic surface on the photo, unfortunately. So I really have to sort of just wait for it to do its thing. And I think what I need to do is put some weight on the center. Let's see. Is this heavy? This might be heavy enough. Nope, it's heavy enough for over there. Actually, it's not heavy enough even for over there. So let's just load it with a bunch of things. Make it heavier. Look at that. Sometimes you gotta weigh things down with whatever you have. Okay, that looks like it's good. This one I'm gonna have to re-glue. Now, while I'm doing this, it's hard to see. My cover is crooked on my art journal, but I've got this aligned with the purple edge of the paper, which is what I'm gauging my place for. And I am just going to put a little bit of glue, as little as possible. very hard. Such a little saying, and probably stuff will smudge out. And I'm going to get it as close to lined up as I can. Remember today. There we go. Okay, so put that in there. So you will see the finished product at the beginning of this video without all my things sitting on it. And I'm going to call it a night on this because it just needs to dry and I'm not adding anything else. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's video and thank you for tuning in for part 2. And if you like this video, please feel free to share it with your friends. And if you, or rather, don't forget to subscribe and like the video below the video here on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me. See you next week.